Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Off the Top Rope here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. So Bad Blood's coming up, and this is an interesting discussion that we're about to have here. So there was a report from Fightful that it was a couple days ago from Sean Ross Sapp and his people over there that despite the rumors, it looks like Roman Cody versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa in that tag team match, the unlikely tag team match, is going to main event Bad Blood. And the early rumors had been that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre inside Hell in a Cell was going to main event the pay-per-view or the premium live event in Atlanta. So normally I'm one for having a strong opinion one way or the other. I think that this is really you could have good arguments on both sides. So I'm going to kind of just, play pros and cons here. And you guys can debate it for yourselves because I don't think there's a wrong answer to what main events this show. I really don't, because when it comes to CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, the whole thing writes itself. It's a Hell in a Cell match on Bad Blood. Bad Blood pretty much is I'm so glad that they're bringing back the name. Hell in a Cell's in the damn, graphic. One of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker happened at a Bad Blood in 1997, I believe. So I don't think there's anything wrong considering how well booked that storyline was. And legitimately, CM Punk couldn't wrestle, and this feud started in January, and all of a sudden, here we are, we're going to be in early October, and this feud is still going on, and this is going to be their third match. And it's going to be epic. And the way that they've built it up, the guys have sold it really well with their promos. We're expecting violence. We're expecting, probably blood. I mean, it's called Bad Blood, so they're probably going to go the extra mile for this. So CM Punk, Drew McIntyre absolutely deserves a chance to main event the show because, hey, as of right now, there isn't a world championship match on the bill for this, which is really crazy to think about. I would imagine Gunther and Sami Zayn comes on to this, but that leads me into why this is a little bit more of a discussion, because Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion, is in a tag team match in his hometown on a PLE that he has been a central part in, promoting and building to in Bad Blood in his hometown of Atlanta. So he's teaming up with Roman Reigns. Let's get real. Roman's the biggest star in this company. He's the biggest star in professional wrestling. He is the tribal chief. He is in God mode. He is the OTC. Whatever you want to call it, I will acknowledge him right now. Okay? Him teaming up with Roman Reigns is a big fucking deal. And to do it on Bad Blood is saying a lot about how strongly they feel about and how big they want to make this show feel. And in a match again, and Jacob Fatu has only wrestled a handful of matches so far in his WWE career. So he gets to be a part of this, and really maybe we're going to get our first real, fisticuffs with Roman and Jacob in this match. You've obviously got the tension between Cody and Roman highlighted in that promo, that incredible video package that they had on SmackDown. So it's a dilemma here because Cody's not defending the WWE title, and he didn't defend it at Bash in Berlin either. So, and that's not to say that this has been it's been an outstanding title reign for Cody. It really has. Just because he's not main eventing shows doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really mean anything. But there's a lot of people who eat one way or the other that are getting mad. Oh, Bloodline should main event over all of this, and Roman and Cody should be on at the end of the show. Oh, no, you have to do CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. That's been the best feud in the company. There are arguments both ways. But one thing, and I'll take this a little bit of a different direction for a second, how this show is positioned will really tell you about what's to happen on this show. Regardless of it, because there's also a chance that maybe they just do some big angle off of, Jacob Fatu potentially beating Roman Reigns to begin with, and there's a beatdown afterwards, and we get a return of a Paul Heyman or of a Jimmy Uso, and we kind of get this bloodline kind of starting to materialize, because we're going to probably be about 6 to 8 weeks away from being at that bloodline versus bloodline match that's inevitably going to happen in Vancouver at Survivor Series. So it's going to be interesting to see the way they position this, because I would not expect anything like, crazy to happen after Drew CM Punk. I would expect it to be a really interesting and not really interesting, it'd be a downright crazy and batshit bananas match that you're going to have two guys trying to kill each other inside of Hell in a Cell. And it'll be an amazing spectacle. They've earned the right to main event the show, and obviously that stipulation means a lot, even though it got diminished. But they've done a really solid job since that Fiend Seth match of rebuilding the stipulation and making it matter more. Obviously had the Seth and Cody match in the cell with Cody's pectoral completely wrecked to bits. You had Seth versus Edge in the Hell in a Cell. That was at a Saudi show. I saw Edge face Finn Balor in a Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania a couple years ago. So listen, the Hell in a Cell match does mean something, and especially without a world title on this show being defended, and even if it was going to be Gunther versus Sammy, that ain't main event in this show. These are the right two choices to potentially main event this show, and whichever one does, I don't think the other one's hurt by it in the slightest. Like, the crowd is going to be invested in these characters, in these matches, in these moments, and all this stuff to begin with, but I'm not going to take a side either way, because like I said, there's a really good argument on both sides, and I think a lot of these people who are just getting mad, oh no, Drew and Punk are getting screwed. Like, guys, what are we talking about here? Like, it was the best feud going into WWE, going into SummerSlam. They were in the middle of the show and they had Seth Rollins as the referee. Cody Solo main evented. You want to know why? Because Roman Reigns was fucking returning. Okay? And then they do it at Bash in Berlin. It wasn't going to main event Bash in Berlin because Gunther's on the show and he's the World Heavyweight Champion. He's facing Randy Orton. Of course that was going to main event the show. So that's why maybe I would think that maybe they would go a certain direction potentially in, giving it to Punk McIntyre. But if they're planning to do something big after Roman Cody versus Jacob and Solo, if they're planning to do something there, then then that's got to go on last. Like, it's really hard for me to pick a side in this whole thing. So if you guys want to debate it in the comments and tell me that I'm taking a little bit of a cop out and I'm kind of hedging here, that's fine. But this is one of those rare instances where really either side has a really compelling case to the whole situation. And the other thing to note, I mentioned the Sean Ross Sapp part of this. PW Insider, also great. Mike Johnson basically said that there's been no decision made on that yet in terms of what's main eventing the show. But my advice to everybody who's having an argument over this, have a beer, go out, enjoy life. There's bigger things to worry about than what's going to main event this Bad Blood show. It's not WrestleMania. It's not the end of the world. These are two of the best feuds going in WWE, and either one of them deserves to main event this show. And whoever doesn't, I would expect them to have a great showing in whatever slot that they're put in. And I don't think in any aspect that it's going to be diminished whatsoever, because one thing that Triple H does really well, especially with the way he positions his cards with 5 or 6 matches, and I know this is a common criticism in the wrestling industry and on social media, but everybody gets mad with these cards. Triple H does a really good job of spreading things out and giving opportunities to tell stories and letting these matches breathe, letting them have their own space so that the crowd doesn't get tired out of a lot of this stuff, which was a common problem. So if you weren't the main event or you weren't the first match, you were kind of in the death spot. So listen, I just don't think that this is that big of a deal, but there is a compelling case for both of these matches to main event that show, which, by the way, is shaping up to be a fantastic premium live event in Atlanta in a couple weeks. So thanks for watching this latest edition of Off the Top Rope. I'm Mike Mayer. We'll have a lot of great content here, wrestling-wise and also football-wise here on the channel. Perfect blend of sports and sports entertainment here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. And until next time, I will see you guys real soon. Bye-bye.